Knock, knock, my politically incorrect racial epithets.
What's going on guys, it's Dre. So 4 months ago I did a video about me ditching my old GTA character on PC and starting again on PlayStation. A lot has changed since then, so I'll give a quick rundown of what I've been doing. Mostly it's just been double money missions. It's the best way to make money if you don't have a business or if you're just starting out. Throughout May, June and July there were a lot of double money missions going, so I took advantage of that. Playing with randoms made it a bit difficult, but the worst thing about these was high level players purposely sabotaging the mission. As you know, every time you complete an objective, certain missions ask all players to do one more task, like leaving a specific location, parking a vehicle somewhere, and the game won't end until that's done. However, players who don't need the money and want to troll will literally loiter in said area or refuse to park up a vehicle, just so they can waste your time. In this clip I was a bit stubborn here and thought they would leave the area and finish the mission, but they weren't budging. I don't think they were going to leave those planes, let alone the airport, anytime soon, so I had to give up. This is the first time I've seen players do this. Most trolls would blow themselves up or a car to waste time, so it was a bit bizarre. After a bit of grinding, I eventually made enough money to buy the agency, mainly so I could use the missile jammer to make my public sessions somewhat survivable, but I don't really need it now since the oppressor got nerfed. So I'd like to say I wasted money here, but at least I got a chance to do the Dr. Dre contract and make some of that money back. That was cool. It was about getting his phone back from Johnny Guns, someone who had beef with Dre in the past. I enjoyed it. I made $1 million from that. It wasn't the smoothest run though. Michael!
Oh my god! Yo, I forgot that the helicopters in this game, you gotta hold down the throttle.
And of course we got to see some familiar faces. Franklin, Lamar and Chop were back for this DLC. It was good to see them, and we can replay these missions now, which is even better. However, we aren't here to talk about this DLC. Instead, the most recent one, Criminal Enterprises, released on the 26th of July. And even though Michael didn't show up to complete the return of the story mode trio, players still received a bunch of new content which affects all businesses. The context is based on the southern San Andreas economy. It's in a bit of a predicament right now. Gas prices are up, retail is a mess, and the heat wave is rinsing everybody. Sound familiar? Interestingly, the IAA, or the International Affairs Agency, have caught wind of some shady business going on with the Duggan petrochemical family. There's been rumours about them rigging the system, hence the sudden spike in gas prices. Bernard, aka Agent ULP, has offered us a set of missions. Operation Paper Trail, where we are hired as IAA field operatives to go and investigate. I was up to the challenge. It was a breath of fresh air after farming so many double money missions, so I asked a friend to join me and we began our investigation. Sort of.
This is a restricted area.
Oh my god.
You muppet!
Now we weren't actually paying attention to any of the context for this mission, so the first run didn't go too well, as you can see. Let's take it from the top. Okay, so mission 1 is called Intelligence. According to the description, we as the private sector assets have been asked to gather intelligence on a group that is conspiring to defraud the American public. We've also been asked to keep this quiet, but hey, it's GTA Online, our characters don't speak anyway, so no issues there. After solemnly swearing to uphold my end of the bargain, we were provided with a vehicle and asked to travel to San Andreas Avenue. On an earpiece, Agent ULP briefed us on the info he had already, including the Duggan family, the suspects of this case. We were actually heading to one of the family members' places of residence right now, specifically speaking, Mason Duggan's. We'd arrived, and our goal was to give Agent ULP's team access to his private files, so we headed in, or forced our way in, I should say. This apartment was fairly big, it had a few rooms, but we found the computer on our first run already, so we knew where to go. The computer was found in Mason's bedroom, so we proceeded to hack it. I'd already done the hack before, so I let my friend do it this time, but I can show you what it initially consisted of. You had to open a few files and initiate a brute force hack. It's nothing alien, we've all done these before in different missions or heists. Just gotta time it right and freeze each column to reveal the password and you're good to go. Hacking Mason's computer revealed 2 sites. In each site there were 2 pieces of hardware, some at the FIB HQ and some at the FIB depot. Turns out the Duggans were negotiating a deal with the FIB for these pieces of hardware. We had to go run interference and take them for ourselves. Okay, so this is where I actually stopped paying attention. There were 2 major things to note here. 1, these were FIB sites, so an element of stealth would be needed to make this go smoothly, and 2, there were maintenance outfits for us to use. However, I somehow missed this on the map the first time. Instead of going in with IAA uniforms, all guns blazing, and leaving security folded on the railings, there was actually an easier way to go about it. So we first went to go and retrieve the uniforms. Now we decided to go on foot from the construction site just to avoid drawing too much attention to ourselves. This may have been overkill, but we didn't want to spook anyone that may have been outside the HQ if we were driving erratically. Luckily no one was out front, so we were good for now. As we entered, the uniforms seemed to be working. None of the security were pulling out their guns like last time, so we were given entry into the main building to finish maintenance on one of the upper floors. Now I got a bit shook here because my mate pulled out his gun for a split second, a massive sniper, and somehow none of the guards noticed. It's a close call because we were warned to keep our weapons concealed to avoid alerting them. We got to the maintenance area, which was conveniently on the same floor as the hardware pieces. There was a tablet and a storage device we had to find. Now the uniforms only grant us access to a limited area, which I think was just this small room we're in right now and a little corridor on the right, so we'd have to use stealth to find the items in the restricted parts of the floor. Going past the caution signs would be out of the safe zone, I imagined. Our first step was to clear all the guards to make it easier for us to find the hardware. We spent a minute or two deciding on how to get rid of the first few guards down this corridor. There were 2 all the way at the end of the hallway and 1 in the office to our right. This area wasn't under maintenance, so we had to be very careful here. I decided to take out the first guard in the small office. He was turning around slightly, so I made sure to keep to the right and melee him as quickly as possible.
This boy's all snapped the fuck up.
After taking a few seconds to laugh at how slumped this FIB agent was, we proceeded to the next 2 guards. This was a little tricky. We were in the peripheral vision of one of the guards. This made it hard to tell as to whether he'd noticed us out of the maintenance area or if he was just talking to the other guy and couldn't actually see us. My mate went a bit closer and it seemed like the guards won't be alerted by you. The maintenance outfits were covering us, but as we were deciding on how to dispose of these 2 simultaneously, the FIB agents decided it was a bit too close for comfort.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea.
Our cover had been blown. Stealth was out the window, so it was time to go all guns blazing. Judging by how the altercation went, it seems like you can move about in restricted areas, but if you wait around for too long, the FIB will know something's up. You're probably wondering why we didn't just shoot them with silencers from a distance. The only reason I was hesitant to do that was because one of the guards could still see us. I think the only reason he didn't do anything at first was because we were unarmed, and if we pulled out our guns then, he'd immediately start firing. So I wasn't going to take that risk, but lesson learned. Luckily, no backup was coming to this floor, so we managed to clear the remaining enemies and begin our search for the hardware. 2 things to note are that the locations change with every playthrough. I thought one of them was going to be in this room, but it's moved. And another thing is, there's no marker on the minimap, so you really do need to check every room. It's not like typical missions where the objective is shown on the map. They've not made it easy this time, which I like. Luckily, my friend found the first piece of hardware in one of the offices, I believe, so I tried the office on the opposite side where we killed those guards and it was there in a box. You kind of have to tilt your camera downwards to properly see it, but there it was. Even though you can't see the objectives on the minimap anymore, I think the FIB agents' positions give you a hint to check those rooms. It's like they were guarding it. It was time to leave, but we had the cops on us, so it wasn't going to be a smooth getaway. We disposed of the guards on the main floor and proceeded outside to where we were met with a bit of resistance. It was only 2-star though, so it didn't take long to clear. We thought it would be a good idea to lose the heat first. Searching for the next hardware pieces would be a pain with the cops on us, so we did the little underground trick next to the construction site and lost them. Our tire was blown, which almost made us have a close call with a cop here. Luckily, he started doing some weird stuff and we could squeeze past him. Next, we headed to the FIB depot to find the last 2 pieces of hardware. Now, to avoid getting the cops on us again, there were 2 fuse boxes located around the depot that we had to shut down to stop the alarm from going off. The first one was easy to find. My friend found it just around the right hand side of the building. The next one was very hard to find though. Both of us had no idea where it was, and even got to the point where I was hopping from roof to roof just to see if the second fuse box happened to be detached from the main building. It turns out it was hiding in plain sight, sort of. It was at the front of the depot but on top of the shelter, like where the extra metal sheeting is, which is used to stop rain I think. So I had the right idea of some rooftop parkour, but didn't think to check the roof of the depot itself. I don't think we could reach there ourselves, so I just shot it from a distance to disable it. Now those were down, it was time to head in. Now the last two items we were looking for was an external hard drive and a VR headset. The depot was pitch black, so we had to use our flashlights to make our way through the building. Again, just like the FIB headquarters, there was no indication of where the hardware pieces were on the minimap, so we had to start from the top and work our way through the depot. We checked the desks, vans, containers and shelving units. This was a pretty big area, so I did want to sprint at times to make my search go a little quicker, but that would turn my flashlight off. And you really can't see anything with it off, so yeah, it comes at a cost if you want to try speed things up. I might be wrong, but this may be one of the properties you can buy to store vehicles or something. Not sure on the type of business though. As you just saw from the notification, my friend found a third piece of hardware, the headset specifically. It was located at the back right of the depot on a desk, I think. And given that these items were probably used on computers, it would make sense to double check the desk areas. I doubled back towards the entrance and found the external hard drive sitting on a desk. We'd acquired all the pieces of hardware and it was time to take it to the drop-off. I was a little annoyed because we somehow got the cops on us. The fuse boxes were destroyed before we entered to prevent that, but it turns out they still knew we'd be here. Agent ULP said something that may be the reason, but I can't quite make out what he's saying. Something about incentivizing the assets, but I can't hear the first part. What do you guys hear? Anyway, I decided to head towards the drop-off point whilst we still had the cops on us. I figured we'd lose them on the way since the location was just over 2 miles. It gives us plenty of time. As we got closer to the airport, the cops had lost us for a brief moment but were still patrolling. And you know how these cops are, they'll always spawn multiple vehicles in the direction you're headed, but they're also very buggy. I somehow managed to get spotted even though I was nowhere near a cop, not in their cone of vision. That was weird. I managed to lose them very quickly again, but had to slow down because one of them had spawned in front of me and we were so close to the drop off now, didn't want to flop. I took a sharp left and headed straight for the alley. It was off the main road, so I gambled that we'd be able to lose them at the drop off site itself. Although it would have been hilarious if the mission failed had the cops managed to spot us back here with the IAA. With a bit of waiting, we'd lost them and we'd securely dropped off the evidence to the other agents. A nice 22,000 for our troubles, and that was the mission complete. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mission 1 of Operation Paper Trail has been complete. It was good fun. I liked how the hardware pieces weren't on the map. It actually encouraged us to use our initiative a bit and figure out or guess where the items would be. Putting on the uniforms gave it that heist preparation feel, and the story is quite interesting so far. Part 2 will be up soon where we go on the offensive and try to dispose of the surveillance that's watching us. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been Dre, take care and see you next time.